So in this session, our goal is to show you what we have going on at the moment in terms of development for addressing and enabling the drug discovery efforts for new modalities with a specific focus as a start for the HELM language. Who here knows what HELM is? Okay. So the very basic introduction, HELM is an acronym for hierarchical editing language for macromolecules. It's becoming a more and more generalized standard for representing biopolymers. And by biopolymers, we mean the traditional ones of peptides, natural, unnatural, nucleic acids, DNA, RNA, and a variety of chemical capping groups that go on the various peptides and nucleic acids, so fluorescent molecules or biotin-related linkers, etc., etc. And that is a notation that has been developed by a consortium of mostly large pharmaceutical companies as well as software vendors to try to come up with a format that can become an industry standard in the representation, to help in the representation, normalization of biopolymers. We had Ascendis, but Ascendis that were going on the other workshop, who was asking, does HELM, they work with sugars. Sugars are not officially recognized, not that they're not recognized. They're not officially supported by the HELM, but you will see how HELM works. And I guess there are no reasons why we could not use the HELM notation with sugars, although it's not part of the official, it was not part of the official discussions, right? So the HELM has been developed by what's called the Dystoia Alliance. You may have heard that term before. Dystoia Alliance is, so a consortium of pharmaceutical companies and software vendors. And the HELM has now gone, developed originally by some scientists from Pfizer, taken over by the Dystoia Alliance, and now under the IUPAC committee, right? So its goal is really to accurately represent biopolymers with or without possible ambiguity, right? I don't know exactly which polymer I have here, and to have it in a way that is registerable, storable, analyzable, and visualizable. So one important aspect of things is, the chemical representation. Obviously, we're coming at this from ChemDraw, so by now you have understood we're Revvity Signals, but we still have Cambridge Software became Pergamon Informatics, now is Revvity Signals, and we still have, and now we're taking care of ChemDraw. So if you have used ChemDraw in the past, you may know that in version 17, we started introducing support for the HELM notation, which at the time was not extensively being deployed across pharmaceutical industries. What we have seen, and one of the reasons why we have further pushed developments recently as in the last year and a half, is that there has been a bigger push from large pharmaceutical companies to adopt that model to facilitate data capture in electronic formats. So had as early as 2017 an edited toolbar within ChemDraw desktops with the ability to paste HELM monomers directly into ChemDraw and manage, to a certain extent, custom libraries. Although this was done at the desktop level, so the desktop ChemDraw application enabled you to libraries as in a set of predefined monomer definitions. So D is aspartic acid, and then NED is going to be methylated aspartic acids. But maybe one scientist may write this as capital M, lowercase e, D for that, while another may, I don't know, call it CH3D or something like that. So what was needed was really a better management of representation of HELM monomers. So we went from this, this is a chimera, right? It's just amino acids, and then it transforms into a nucleic acid. We went from this to this sort of representation. So we've added a layer of ease of visualizations, right? ChemDraw is about the communication of chemistry, helping visualize complex chemical concepts as well as now biological concepts. So, for example, you have the various families of biopolymers. So peptides are, for example, represented as circles and have a specific color. So anything that is, I don't know how you call it, lilac. Anything that is lilac is going to be associated with alanine. So some derivatives of alanine, all the derivatives of alanine are going to be color-coded as lilac, light lilac, if you may say. While the histides are going to be the histidine derivatives, methylated, alkylated, etc., are going to be teal, turquoise, or teal, actually, the sounds cool. And then, for example, if you go at the bottom, the nucleic acids have a triad representation in the HELM representation makes nucleic acid look like a triad. So the base, the ribose, and the linker, which is all represented here. So, for example, the A is the adenine. A is the adenine, P means it's the regular phosphate linker, and then R is the ribose base, in that case RNA. Okay, so this is something that we introduced in actually the last version of ChemDraw Desktop, and there was a need, there was a request from our largest Signal notebook customers to also get that into possible experiments in Signal's notebook. And this is what the majority of a large portion of the development work of ChemDraw in the past year has been put into efforts to bring this sort of visualizations into Signal's notebook experiments, right? Through an interface that I will show you in a moment, but to the JS editor, which is ChemDraw running in the web, to the JS editor, we have brought in a, let's say, small window that is the HELM editor with colors, with better management of libraries, with better management of favorites, and just better interaction, better UI and UX experience within the application. So we still support the same basic functions that are paste a HELM string, copy as a HELM string, library navigation, text-based searching, but the new things we've added within Signal's notebook to facilitate entry, to facilitate working, capturing, and managing experiments that contain those type of biomolecules is the favorites, and a better interface to input those biomolecules as text, right? What you see on the canvas, on the ChemDraw JS canvas, is just a sequence, biopolymer sequence that could have been added by clicking manually on the various residues that you see on the left. But obviously, it's not. Starting a certain number of residues, it starts becoming a bit tedious. So there is also an option to enter text-based representation of the peptides via, FASTA representation, FASTA peptide, FASTA DNA, FASTA RNA, and then enter that text. Press a button to easily transfer that into the canvas, right? on top of that, what we wanted to do is to solve the problem of nomenclature and management and handling the uniqueness of monomers. So as we said, if you leave it to the end user to generate their own monomers, you're going to end up with probably 5 versions of the same chemical entity. That is an amino acid that is maybe modified at this position, and you're going to get as many names, as many monomer definitions as you have of chemists, most likely, just because of spelling. So our intent when starting to work with HELM in the context of Signals Notebook, right? So it's an enterprise tool. It needs some enterprise data management layer. That is to say, libraries should be set at the company level, should be managed by somebody who's a curator, who's going to maintain the library, make changes to the library, update maybe monomers as research evolves. But the end users should only consume the content of a curated libraries. Only certain persons should be allowed to actually modify the names or bring in new entities into the libraries. So that is something that we'll see light in a second. But again, just introducing what we have. The HELM monomer curation app is one app within the Signals platform. So as you log into the Signals platform, you can launch the inventory, you can launch Signals Notebook, in the near future, you'll be able to launch ChemDraw. And you have this HELM monomer curation app that lets you browse the libraries, that lets you import libraries, and bulk import. So for example, I don't need to tell you that biopolymers are getting more and more important. Those are two FDA-approved drugs that are terlipressin is an unnatural peptide, cyclic, and then mipomersin is a nucleic acid derivative that is highly modified. So we're gonna have a look at what this process does look like within Signals Notebook, and just because this is one aspect of new modalities, polymers, biopolymers, and sequences, we are then going to switch over to Linda, who's going to talk more about the more biological aspect of new modalities and what we have done in Signals Notebook in terms of handling biological sequence search and handling, for example, RNA in experiments. Are there any questions so far? While I drink.
Yeah, out there, is there like a vocabulary, or how can I say that, a small dictionary or list of these things, probably directly maybe in ChemDraw?
So directly in ChemDraw, yes. Dictionary, we can discuss about what that means exactly. But I think I know where you're going with that. But first of all, in terms of, we've been talking about the research suite. I don't know how many of you have already actually actively using it, but this is what the research suite looks like. You have login and password, just like any modern self-respecting SaaS application. You log in, you have a portal with multiple apps. So obviously, I'm here as an admin, so I have the possibility to configure, but to the end user, this is something where maybe you're just going to go in Signals, which is Signals Notebook, and you click it, and you're going to land into Signals Notebook. So this is my personalized dashboard. Connection is via my my work phone, so apologies if it's not loading super fast, it's okay. And for example, Who here has been working with Signals Notebook? Okay, so have just for the persons who do not. So this is, for example, those are experiments, right? Those are experiments that I have read access to. So you can see you have experiments made by Linda, by Jared, by myself. It's an old picture, but that's a demo tenant, so that's okay. And here you can add many different objects. So for the basic objects, a notebook in which you're going to put experiments, but it could be many other things. It could be test requests that can be sent out to somebody else for somebody else to conduct. Parallel chemistry experiments, as in combinatorial chemistry, requesting material, you name it. It's tailored for you to. It's tailored for you to enter your research in a way that's easy as possible. For those who don't know what Signals Notebook, this is an example of a template. I'm on the stun experiment. I want to pick a template which is going to force me to enter a description, a name, a project, so all the important metadata for you and your company can be made mandatory or not, right? So this is an example that goes through a few clicks, creating an experiment, which in that case is very blank, actually. That's my template, to which I can add the various elements. So I'm just adding a chemical drawing into my experiment and just expanding the canvas a little bit so that we have a slightly more visible app. So there you go. So if you have to ask what has the Canva development team been working on extensively in the recent months, it has been really to bring in that HELM editor within Signals Notebook. As we were all discussing about cloud and SaaS and regular updates, you may not know, but for those of you who have Signals Notebook, this is available to you as of today, right? We have, this just needs to be enabled, but we have introduced within a recent update the HELM editor, and now this is available to all our users of Signals Notebook in the world, provided that it's activated, that it's turned on by an admin. So the way that it works is really that you have libraries of monomers. So the Story Alliance monomers, natural monomers being, of course, the natural amino acids that are color-coded, that you can define as your favorites. And very simply, so you can click on each of the various monomers and keep on adding. The resolution of the screen is not perfect, but if you make a mistake, if you forget a residue, you can say, let's say, insert left or replace and add another residue in between, right? So that's one thing that, for example, in the previous iteration in Canva Desktop was not something that was not there. And importantly, the simple mouse over will give you a list and will give you a preview of what the actual chemical structure looks like for that monomer. And then, of course, this is all chemically interpreted, right? And if you need to, right, you can use the same shortcuts as in Canva Desktop. So that is to say, you select something, you do Control arrow right, and then it clones whatever you have on the other side of an arrow. And then, for example, if we do a blobber chem means that we are going to insert left, for example, a chemical modification, right? Chemical modification. if you need to expand it, it works as in a Canva desktop, right? Expand a label. Expanding the label will, okay. Expanding the label will give you that, and we are working on fixing the actual display and the cleaning up of the biopolymer. But all of this obviously so is easily entered and can be then so now it should be hopefully interpreted as reactants and products, and so you can carry out your reaction and monitor the reaction. Okay. Any questions so far? Cool. Then, when it comes to what the actual HELM monomer curation looks like, you're going to have a list of all possible libraries that you have within the system. And as we said earlier, the important thing is really that you can easily import anyone. So as a company, you will probably have your own definitions of peptides that you use on a regular basis, your own collections of modified nucleic acids, and this is where you are going to be able to do the bulk import of libraries that can be then pushed out to all the user community within Signals.book. And for this, yes.
Is it checking based on the structure like don't have it already? Or so what happens if I have structure, I import it again to a different name because I didn't know like going when you did it? Is it checking on the structure?
It will. It will. So here you have, for example, duplicate resolution. And you are going to be able to take specific actions, so sort of like registration style actions if you try to upload a monomer that already exists.
Does that take then stereochemistry to account? Or?
Yes. Yes, it would. Yeah. So just for you, both for the persons who are not familiar with what JSON is, which I was not familiar with what a JSON format is before going into product management, but it's the format that will be required to upload the library. So most likely, if you're a chemist, you know what an SD file is. If you don't know what an SD file is, it's just a list of molecules with associated properties in a tabular format, just like Excel, right? So you will likely have either an Excel spreadsheet with structure definitions in the first column, and then various attributes for R1, R2, R3 groups that are necessary for the monomer creation. This says JSON. If you ask nicely to an IT person, he can probably transform that Excel for you into a JSON. Otherwise, ask ChatGPT to transform a given TXT file into a JSON format. ChatGPT is actually very good at that. And then you upload that into Signals Notebook, and off you go. You will get a new library imported and accessible that will be accessible for your users to use in their experiments. That is, in a nutshell, what I wanted to show you in terms of where we are at Revvity Signals with better handling of biopolymers, nucleic acids, management of curated libraries. And before I hand it over to Linda to continue on the even bigger molecules and take just a few questions. Yeah.
So I'm going to try to bridge the gap between the HELM and biologics, right? For example, we all know drug antibody conjugates, but now we also do peptide antibody conjugates, which are smaller, easier penetrable, easier to produce, right? And this could be, for example, this combination of this peptides and a biological sequence. For example, in Signals notebook, as we have seen experiments, we have here a prepared experiment that describes exactly that process, where we're going to prepare a peptide and link it together with a small molecule that is the payload to deliver the drug, or is the drug itself, right? Or in like radioligand or something. And that, in the end, could be coupled then with a biological entity too. So there was a question about how do I register those entities? We can create samples out of the product, and from within the experiment, we can either bulk or single select one of those and select then and ask if we want to register this whole structure. And this is going into a biopolymer library, and it's going to look at what it is. I need to fill out maybe some data that are required. Many are pre-populated for me. And if this button is activated, I can click on it, and it's registering, and in the meantime doing a duplicate on the complete structure. And as you see, right now, it did find the structure already registered. And now it asks me, what do I want to do? So Larry has registered this. Do I want to use it as a match and add a second batch to the same entity? Or say, no, this is actually something unique, maybe it's chemically identical, but it's for a different project. And I would like to register it on a different project, for example. So I have this choice to do so. And as Pierre said, and we said, yes, the whole chemical back structure is used for the uniqueness check, and I can use the match and actually register it right out of my experiment back to the Signals registration system in a single click. Or if I have multiple compounds, I can bulk register them. It goes back and brings me my unique identifier within the system, which is hyperlinked and gives me all the information that has been implemented. And I think that's really taking Signals a step forward in all this kind of business in order to do this way of working. And now I have prepared this. Now I could maybe send the task to somebody to couple it with my biological entity if I would like to do so. And then I'm going to go back to the other tenant, because that's something I wanted to show you there, and show you more about the other biological entities we have added into Signals notebook, which was on the PowerPoint. For example, RNA. So RNA is a new entity type in Signals notebook. Until now we did support double-strand DNA. Now we support also single-strand DNA and RNA in the experiments. And for that, I'm going to use my search to find the experiment I have prepared. So I'm going to click on the notebook or experiment filter, and then I'm going to add filter creator. And yeah, mon Dieu. Where I am the creator. And I sorted by modified reasons first. I'm going to go just to this experiment to show you what we can do there. So this is again pre-populated. Pierre showed you how to create an experiment. We can add content by either using the biological sequence or dragging and dropping from our hard drives. And we support different kind of file types for biological entities. We support the generic FileStar and DBank formats, as well as the Snapgene proprietary formats, the .dna, .rna, and .prot. So that's all implemented. And structures in RNA, DNA, or amino acid format can be represented in this sequence viewer. Don't run away with your hotspot here. The sequence viewer displays our file as it is annotated within your structure. Thank you for being nice to see you tomorrow. We can visualize the different sequences in amino acid sequence and protein sequence. On the right side, you can walk through our structures and our entities, see the features of the entity, which strand it is, what kind of region it is, where it is positioned inside the molecule of the entity. Or go to the right side and walk ourselves through the annotations self here. Do you have by chance Snapgene installed? Okay. If you had Snapgene installed on your laptop, on your machine, you can use the round-trip integration similar to Cambridge Desktop. So we click on View or Edit with Snapgene. It opens Snapgene on your folder, it downloads a local copy. You can do all the modifications you would like to do with your sequence, add new modifications, annotations, save it back, and it will update the file within Signals notebook, which of course is traced in the audit trail, comparable, revertible, and fully traceable. So this really works for DNA, it works for RNA. So let's take this one, this is a bit nicer. So we have here an example for TDP2, where we see the linear RNA molecule and all the properties and annotations that have been uploaded with this. We have a lot of exons and then the TDP2 region. We can also translate it on the fly within the program from the original format, what is .dnr, RNA, to a GenBank format, to a FASTA format, and for programmatics, to JSON format. So our friend Andreas from Givaudan, for example, was thinking about working programmatically with his biological entities and extracting the coding region, the protein out of it, for example. So this is really open, again, going back to the outside of the presentation, to access Signals notebook products programmatically. But not only can we look into this and walk through the features and see the sequence, we can also search on it, right? Because searching is very important in Signals. We don't need only to add data, we need to find data and see if somebody has, as you said, has somebody already done this? And we can copy a full sequence or a part of the sequence. Right-click, copy, and use the search. Let me just open a different tab. The search within Signals notebook to do either the chemical search and search for HELM structures, for example, or the biological sequence search, where we can input a string and let the system search for it. In this case, there's only one experiment where the sequence substring is existing. So I'm looking really at all experiments that contain this. If I would like to see the content element within my experiment where it's sitting, I could change the filter settings and it shows me it's sitting in this biological sequence element within this experiment with this notebook. And there are different kind of searches available: substring search, exact search, and nucleotide or protein blast-like search. Disclaimer, it's not going out to NCBI and brings things from NCBI. It's searching within Signals notebook and finds their matches. Finally, we can, again, similarly to the chemical or the HELM elements, we can register them to material libraries. So we are able, from either within the system, the experiment where we're sitting, from a materials table to register biological entities, as I have shown with the HELM, or we can go to the libraries itself if we have like the need to bulk upload a long list of primers, plasmids, polymers. We can do so by going to the corresponding library. Let's pick the plasmids library, which of course has the same search and filter capabilities as everywhere else in the notebook. So searching and filtering is consistent throughout the whole system. And it allows me to either search by, again, sequence and substructure, but all the other annotation, as Pierre mentioned, all the other, show me like all plasmids that has a kanamycin resistant C gene. That brings 12 results back just by that. And if I had a piece of sequence, I can actually continue to have this search, and I'm not going to paste in the RNA sequence because of course it won't find anything right now. But this is really how we can combine those entities. And finally, maybe you would like to know how we can continue and creating like new entities out of our current materials. Let's say we have now a parent cell line. We have a cell line where we would like to introduce a biological plastic to produce something in the fermentation, right? We can pick from the material library a new cell line, a starting cell line, or entering the scan in the barcode. So let's go and do so by clicking on this magnification glass. It goes to the material library, to the material library. It shows me, in this case, I search on CHO, show me all what is available for CHO. I'm going to select this, bring this into my experiment. Or I can go actually, or the other way around, if I have it in Signals inventory, and look for containers. Show me all containers that contain the CHO cell line in the inventory. There are 10 right now, and I can go ahead and say I want Ben's run. Let's say now we have Ben, we see the available amount in this case. It's all 1 microgram. I can select directly from inventory, Signals inventory, the container with the container barcode. The container is automatically set to be in use, so nobody else will be able to use it because I'm using it. And I can actually decrement the amount that I'm consuming from my material. Right now we have 1 microgram. And if we go ahead and decrement my 1 French keyword caplogs got that 1 microgram, it goes out to inventory. On the bottom right you saw updated inventory, and the inventory will tell you now that the container is actually exhausted because I have consumed everything. So it's a direct link between your experiment and maintaining the inventory in sync, which is also, I think, very important to not unsync this. And from our parent cell line, I could go ahead and now create a child material, which is then my transfection cell line, my transfection cell line or my separating cell line. It links automatically my parent entity or my HELM structure, and lets me now to link it directly to the next things that we want. So we have the parent inserted. Now we would like to insert our plasmid or couple it with our biological entity. And with this, we can maintain kind of a genealogy within Signals Notebook, referencing the 2 ingredients, let's say, or starting materials, to register a new material. So I'm going to give it a name. It's a human cell line, right? It's a kidney cell line. No, it's not a kidney. It's not a human. It's a Chinese hamster. I'm talking choke. Sorry. So it's the hamster. It's whatever, smooth muscle cell in this case. It references it has a biosafety level, so you need to fill out some required fields, and then you will be able to register again this new cell line. Okay. Please update column. Yeah. Register. What should I update here? Interesting. Let's refresh that. So in theory, we can register now the cell line back to the Signals registry, and it maintains the lineage. No. It maintains... Not today. It maintains the lineage of the parent cell line and the child cell line, or the plasmid that we have used. So you can, in the next step, if you go for your product, if you do downstream process, then follow back what really and went into the cell lines. And this can happen really through all entities in Signals Notebook, and helps you to keep track of your entities, your cell lines, and maybe the last thing on Larry's tenant in the search. We can look for the HELM, and of course it did not save it. We can use the HELM editor inside Signals search, and then can add.
It hasn't key. Well, no worry.
And look for this and hope I did the right one. No. So if it found something like this, it found something like this, it did not. I can reduce the similarity, be a bit more forgiving about it. And there we found something. So this is how you can really play with your search, even if you're a chemical dummy as I am. And this was here, it was a system. So I wanted to search for this linker here between my HELM and my chemical compound, yeah. So I hope this gave you a little impression about how we can deal now with HELM, peptides, oligos, as well as combining it with other structures going notch. Use amino acid sequence in the sequence viewer instead of HELM, and combine those with these internal references into a new entity type that you would like to register. Duplicate check runs either on the sequence or on the chemical sequence or biological sequence, and it opens up really a whole new world within Signals, I would say.